I'm G, and Lalaa got me to skip class with the progress report, man. God damn.
The progress report.
All right, what's going on? It's your girl, Lalaa Shepard. This is a new episode of Skipping Class presented by the Progress Report. Today, I got my man G in the building of the tour. How you feeling?
I'm phenomenal. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great,
Thanks for
man. I appreciate you being here, and salute to my man Hayes. You know, DGB always
Shout out to them. Off the porch.
connecting the dots, man. Always connecting me with great people. So I thought when you hit me up, I'm like, man, I love what y'all got going on. I love how y'all incorporating, health, fitness, music, mental health, and all that good stuff together. So please tell me, what is the tour? And talk about my man Clif, who couldn't be here with us.
Shout out to Clif too, man. Clif's definitely supposed to be here today. So he's actually the DJ that puts together all the music. I curate the music, so I can select all the songs, and we try and target an audience that we know. You know what I'm saying? Identifies with aggressive music. So the BPM's always kind of turned up for the tracks that we select. And that's just to kind of get you through your workout. Working out and the drudgery of working out can be tough.
Man, so why name the tour? Why name it the tour?
So the last probably 4.5, 5 years of my life, I've been living on the road between Atlanta and LA. And I was dealing with a lot of things, personally, and tour life just like stuck out to me because I'm at a lot of, fast food spots, a lot of restaurants, almost like a military person too, living in different houses and apartments, and really, in a lot of ways broadening my horizons. I get to experience different locations, but felt like I was on a tour, and I would always pop into different gyms across the nation, and I was always still kind of locked in and training, even despite everything that was going on in the background. So I'm like, you know what? We should call the project the tour.
Love that. That's tight. So, okay, so I know you say you curated the music and Clif is the DJ.
Correct.
Man, y'all did a phenomenal job. The playlist is fire. You know what I mean? I love how y'all started it out. You know what I mean? Had the sports theme. Then y'all had my man Bankroll fresh. It was a lot of dope artists.
Rest in peace, Bankroll.
Talk about some of the phenomenal artists that y'all did feature, because it was a lot. Heard a lot of South, a lot of New York, a lot of different, blends.
Oh, and it's a long project.
Yeah.
So we tried our best to make sure we incorporated some of the best artists from each region.
Yeah.
And some of the songs are known, some of the songs are B-sides. But to your point, Bankroll,
Yes.
I was in Atlanta in 2015 when he was on the rise.
Crazy.
I remember his impact. He's definitely on the tape. Obviously, you think about Bankroll, you think of Jeezy because it's the record all there. So Jeezy his music is phenomenal. I think it transcends time in a lot of ways. When you look at the work he did with Shorty Red,
crazy,
back in was it 04, 05? And the fact that it still holds up today as far as how it hits you, it was like, yo, we gotta have this music on the project. And I've always been a fan of the culture since I was young. So when you mentioned New York and whatnot, my first relationship with hip hop, Nas is my favorite rapper. My father was a Biggie fan.
Oh, man.
My Aunt Trish is actually where I discovered Biggie. She had the Ready to Die album in my grandma's house. My father was a big Snoop fan. So my inception, with the culture is coming kind of through those artists.
100%, man. I mean, it was a lot of dope ass artists. 3 6, Sexy Red, DMX. It was dope. Then you had the reggae. I love reggae, man. I was just like, yo, y'all killed it. Yeah. And for a person like me, I definitely try to incorporate fitness into my life, just because, for one, just to be healthy, but it makes me feel good. So why is it important for you? And is Clif the same way?
Yeah, Clif's the same way. I think for me, what also began to stand out through this journey is just how sedentary a lot of us have become, as far as how we've, gotten sort of pacified around a culture that requires us to be in front of screens all day. Whether you work in an office and you're in front of a screen, or you're just kind of laying around, sitting around on your phone all day.
True.
And it's leaving us at a state where if we don't consciously become aware of the effect that could have on us physically, we could turn into hermits. So
no, that's real.
And then when you look at Black culture specifically, our culture, the sickle cell, the obesity, the diabetes, you already had a lot of variables underneath the surface.
Facts.
That played a key role in how we live our lives today. And if you make us even more sedentary, as a population, like as a culture, it could really set us back. So it's like, no, we want to encourage you to fight that. Get up, get out, work out. At the very least, our people should be walking, you know what I'm saying, once a day.
I'm with you, man. I think that's beautiful. I have the sickle cell trait, and I was taught that early. And my mom was like, "Man, if you reproduce, you better make sure they don't have it." But it's a real thing, and I know people that grew up with it and just
Prodigy, whose death anniversary was yesterday. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
one of my favorite rappers growing up.
Hey, man.
Had sickle cell.
Yeah, and to your point, to what I meant to ask you when you brought up Nas, you know what I'm gonna ask, man. The Jones and Nas conversation, man. You been seeing it?
No, what happened with Jim Jones?
Okay, so Jim Jones did a podcast episode with Jadakiss and Fat Joe. You know, they got a podcast. Yeah. And pretty much it's this debate in the air of, Jim Jones is a better rapper than Nas. Sonically, we just talking about just hits and everything. And Jim Jones, he listed his reasons. Now, I'm a big, Jim Jones fan, Dipset fan, as well as Nas. But he was saying, like, Jim Jones is more, you can name more Jim Jones songs than you can Nas songs. How do you feel about that as a Nas fan?
So I'm a DJ too, like Clif, and a fan of the culture. And it goes back to when I was young. He's wrong. He's wrong. He's objectively wrong. I'm sure he was corrected too. And he's probably being corrected as we speak. But Nas is one of one. He's arguably the best lyricist ever.
100%.
His weak point was his production post it was written. That was kind of the criticism you heard from him, and then maybe people kind of lost or felt like he lost them with Nostradamus a bit. But as you can see, he recovered quick with this King Disease trilogy. I think Stillmatic and Godson back to back are two crazy albums. Yeah, he's one of one, as in he could probably go down in the hip hop museum or just the rock and roll museum to Jim Jones, who's a hype man and still kind of has that hype man energy. I don't see him evolving as an artist. I see him putting in a lot of work now to release solo projects, but the game is weaker than what it was. Right when he came out as Cam's hype man. And when I think of Jim Jones, I think of Max B. I'm a huge Max B fan.
Me too.
Max B was ahead of his time.
G's up, holds down.
Free Max B.
Free Max B.
Yeah, but nah, no disrespect to Jim. I love Mase too. I feel like Mase probably is the best
I'm with you.
Harlem artist ever. Maybe.
Mase nice.
I'm showing my age because I know this Big L. But like,
well, nah, man, I respect it. I had to ask you that. What you saying, Nas? What's your favorite? Now, with you being from DC and observing the Atlanta culture, what's your thoughts? And also, too, you having a background in politics, and we go get into that in a little bit as well, too. What's your thoughts? Just being a fan of Young Thug and seeing his empire and everything become to what it is now.
I think he was ahead of his time in a lot of ways that he understands now that he didn't then. I was also down here in 2014 and 2015 on a detail from GSA. So I remember that rise and feeling that energy, you know what I'm saying, in the streets here. I think it's a shame it took that Rico for him to understand the kind of impact that he has around the world. But ultimately he'll be the better for it. He'll be the better artist for it, the better human for it, the better father for it, the better man for it.
Facts.
And I was just telling my man over here, I think it's sad how the street culture has kind of bled, or the street rules rather, have kind of bled into different socioeconomic classes, like the middle class blacks, the upper class blacks that have no, connection to the street.
Yeah.
Trying to pick sides and shit with artists. And I think now you're finally seeing this fork in the road where, for the first time ever, the music is what matters more,
right?
Not so much the street culture. In a lot of ways, middle class black people and upper class black people, we do ourselves a disservice cheering on bad behaviors and encouraging bad behaviors that we know need to be called out.
Damn, that's real.
Yeah,
that's real. And first, I want you to tell us specifically, what was your background in the Department of Justice?
So I started my federal career at GSA. I always wanted to work for justice. I've always been kind of a just person since I was a child. I remember telling my mom at one point, I'm like, if there's only one agency I could work for, it would be the DOJ. And then it came to pass in 2018. I can't go in depth too much around what I do at Justice, but I will say it's some career-defining, purpose-driven work that is definitely going to put me on the track to get into politics and run for office.
Absolutely. No, first of all, that's amazing. I think, again, we hear it all the time. If you want change, you got to be the change. You got to put yourself in position to do it. So I love to see that. What are some things that you want to do for the community in addition to aiding them with music and the playlist and vibes and stuff, but specifically with politics? What do you want to do?
So in addition to, encouraging a healthy lifestyle, physical activity, I would focus on creating formal jobs programs, and maybe like an artificial intelligence training, like a mandatory training, to make sure that our young men and women are going to be equipped for this new job market that is rapidly setting in. I think new social contracts are being written as we speak that are going to redefine the way the world is, and I just want to make sure my constituents don't get left behind.
Love that. And tell me, about your background working with Obama.
Yes.
That was some years ago, but it's still amazing nonetheless.
It's crazy. I'm going to Obama, but like my family, my father's side specifically, has a relationship to national politics and the Democratic Party that supersedes me. My great-grandmother, Genevieve Johnson, you all can look her up. She played an active role in helping President Carter, Jimmy Carter, draft legislation for Medicaid.
Wow.
She was also very close to the Clinton administration. She was a U.S. diplomat. My great uncle, Burton Johnson, was the first black fire chief in D.C. Our family cousin, Maurice Turner, was the first black police chief in D.C. And I think both were appointed by Marion Barry, our famous mayor.
Oh, yeah.
So now you look at me, my senior year of high school, I had done some work in OUDC, which is an acronym for Operation Understanding DC, which is a group that brings young black men and women and young Jewish men and women together to get a better understanding of each other's culture.
Oh, wow.
So I won a Princeton Prize Review Award that year. And at the time, I get to meet Senator Obama, who's the keynote. And of course, this was before his speech at the DNC in 2004. I don't know who he is, right? But my mom is like, yeah, you just need to keep that connection, right? And I did. I ended up working for him formally as staff in North Carolina my junior year of college.
Wow.
And I still have ties to the DNC. And I think I was just talking a little bit about what my strategy would have been if I had managed Madam VP's campaign before we started rolling this camera. But no, like Madam VP was put in a tough spot. I think now we know with clarity, President Biden had some cognitive issues that was affecting how he did his job, and he stayed in the runnings for president too long when he had committed not to. Now you look at what Madam VP was kind of able to do in that short period of time, and it was like she had her hands tied behind her back. She also dealt with a lot of unnecessary, I think, unfair criticism from some in our community that felt like she wasn't black enough. And it really bothers me sometimes when we get caught up on things that don't really matter. But there was a lot of just things, energy against her, on top of the fact that she really just didn't have enough time to draft the kind of platform to share what she could do better than what the Biden administration had done in their 4 years of office. And also maybe not distance herself from the good things that the Biden administration did their 4 years in office. But what's done is done now. Here we are, right? We got President Trump back in there.
Yeah.
For round two.
But
yeah, let me just go back really quick though on the Madam VP part.
Yes.
I will say one thing that did stand out, and I hope the DNC sees this. I'll make sure they see this.
Okay.
Whenever we get surrogates to come out for us that may be a little edgy, like say a Sexy Red or a Glorilla or a Cardi B, let's try and put them in different predicaments where they can engage with the electorate, like a teen summit kind of format where they can actually, try and talk to certain issues, maybe not every issue, maybe not foreign policy, but teen pregnancy.
Amen.
Right? Challenge them to kind of come out of character a little bit, not too much. We don't want to compromise what they got going on from a business standpoint, but we can't just have them on stage shaking ass. Like there's a time and place to shake ass, and it's not on the campaign trail. So I'm gonna make sure. They're trying to work on repairing their relationships with men. So I'll make sure they.
I think, and that's the thing, man. I think, as a female and as a fan, just, as a black female too, just watching it, I'm like, damn, like, half of me like, this is lit, but it's like, this ain't right, but damn.
Not the right setting for this.
It just wasn't the right time, you know what I mean?
We can get lit after this.
Right.
After we win.
Yeah, so I feel you on that, and I respect that. So, thoughts now just having Trump in office, and also, too, just with his...
Donnie's back.
Yeah, with his new doings, his recent doings, I should say.
President Trump is an interesting figure. I understand his appeal. He has the bravado, the machismo that I know resonates with a lot of us as it pertains to like what's in the rap culture. Obviously, he was very popular in the culture for eons.
Yeah.
I think there's some policies that we all kind of understand, and we're kind of not like, bold enough to agree with publicly. Like, I think people, especially in our community, understand why we need American sovereignty, as in enforcing like our constitutional, border rules. I think there's a way you can deport people with dignity, right? So he does some things right in a very unconventional way. Then he has his broken clock moments where he gets something right, like every once in a blue moon. But I think a lot of times we become too critical of him to the point where we almost like deify him. He doesn't get the same treatment that other politicians get, and I get that he's a businessman, so maybe that's why. But I think too many of us have this affinity of focusing solely on him and not learning more about the actual process.
That's real.
Yeah.
I feel you. And I think, all we can do from a community standpoint is start within ourselves and our homes. And, just with that being said, do you feel like just the newer generations and also the millenniums as well, too, like are leaning towards more like a wellness lifestyle? And
I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. The only thing that bothers me is how capitalism is co-opting the wellness lifestyle. Like, I don't feel like capitalism has to bleed into everything. I see people all the time in the gym. A lot of times they want me to train them, and I will literally like find time to train you for free.
Wow.
It turns me off when I see the people walking around with their trainer shirts, taking your money and they're out of shape.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they're trying to teach you technique in hopes that you reach a certain goal or a certain physique, but they're out of shape, right? So it's like, sometimes I feel like certain things we can just share, right? If you understand what a healthy regimen is like,
that's real.
What healthy foods are for a certain body type, just share the information. If you do have the time to help people, work on their technique, to achieve a certain goal, to achieve a certain, just share the information. Like, everything need to come with a cost. So that's how I feel about it. It's a gift and a curse.
Damn. Nah, that's spot on. And side note, I would never be trained by anybody that's out of shape.
You would be surprised.
No, I've seen it.
Lalaa.
I've seen it, but I would never.
I'm in the
couldn't
gym.
do it.
I'm like, he can't be the trainer.
Yeah, like
that's the trainer.
That's nuts.
Or you see him on social media now, like
for sure,
doing exercises, and I had to tell a couple of my friends, I'm like, you'll never see me on social media hitting the squat, hitting the bench press, and I got the physique of a football player.
100%.
But I'm like, no, that's not what this is about. That spirit of attention and ego and vanity isn't what this is about. If we're going to get healthy as a culture, as a people, we got to get healthy inside and out.
Amen, man. Amen. And, speaking of that, man, the project, we're going to divert that attention back to that, man. Y'all actually got it on Mixcloud, so it's free to stream.
10,000 streams.
Yes, sir.
To date.
Love that.
We're getting ready to spin the block with Volume 2. We're working on it right now.
Okay.
Been working on it since Off the Porch.
Hey.
Originally, we were going to drop a deluxe real quick, just throw it out there to capitalize on the momentum. But then I was like, nah, we need to really take our time with this, because this might really be the last one. So we got to do it right.
Why you feel like the last one? Why you say that?
Everything we discussed earlier in the conversation. That's
true.
I see what
you're saying.
Politics. Okay. Like, what I've done as a DJ and music has been fun. It's actually opened the doors for me to interface with a certain demographic seamlessly. It's like people say, damn, like, he's intelligent, but he's down to earth.
Yeah.
He's cool. Like, he listens to Gunna, he listens to Thug, he listens to Future, like, and he actually knows their music. But, I gotta now get on to other things.
Respect, man. I mean, Obama still be dropping his playlist and whatnot, so I just feel like, listen, we just never know.
I tell you what, too, Clif still gonna be my DJ. on the
100%.
campaign trail,
100%.
at any event. He don't know this, but when he see this, he gonna be laughing because it's true. Like,
Yeah.
I already got him in that box. Like, he gonna be the DJ.
Interesting. So let me ask your opinion. Just with you just not having that traditional look of a politician, how do you feel like that's going to work in your favor? And you know what I mean? Just from the locks, from the tats, you know what I mean?
I think for a lot of people, it's going to be something that has them staring at me.
Facts.
Right? And when they stare, and this happens in work, in the corporate space,
imagine.
when I draw them in off the stare and they realize I'm really well learned on the topics, I
your
earned
stuff.
my spot, they become even more intrigued. Almost in a way they were intrigued with Bob Marley and Lil Wayne last decade. So it actually works for me. And then as it relates to my people, I think for them, it's just like more of a mind fuck. They're just like, what? Like, wait, you talking about Obama's foreign policy in 2014?
Man.
How he should have been more aggressive in response to letting Crimea get taken over? What? Nigga, what are you talking about? We just talking about Gunna. Like,
That's hard.
yeah.
I love that, man. So that leads me to my question that I ask all of my amazing guests. What does our keyword progress mean to you?
Progress is a way of life. Like, if you're not evolving and growing, progressing, and you're stagnating, you are literally like setting your posture so you die. And you could die fast, or you could die a death by 1,000 cuts. Nice and slow. So you need to always be challenging yourself and pushing yourself to evolve.
Amen. Love that. I love that. So what's next? I mean, so many beautiful things are next, but what do you want to tell the people that's next for you right now?
So volume 2 of the tour will be out this fall,
Okay.
October. We started training for free in DC.
That's hard, man.
TBZ is called the Blackout Zone is the group. So like I was torn between naming it Ready to Die or the Blackout Zone. And Ready to Die just has such a negative connotation.
Yeah, I was
to
gonna
it.
say, damn.
But when you
Shit.
work out as hard as we do, we want to work out to failure. Like, we actually want you to meet your goal. Like, if you want to drop weight, we want you to drop the weight. And in order for you to do that, we got to really push you. We got to get you out of your comfort zone. Obviously, that's not what Big meant with the album title. But I heard it like, nah, like, you really got to walk into this workout ready to put it all on the line and leave it there every time you walk out of this workout. So we got that. That just started.
Dope.
And honestly, like I said, after we drop this fall, I'm
Yes, sir.
on the culture to deuces,
Hey.
I'm gonna definitely send you a gift though after this.
Okay, nah, I got
Yeah.
gifts for you as well, man. Well, this was dope, man. This has been a very enlightening conversation. I can't wait to share this with the world, man, for sure. Let them know your socials.
So because of what I do, you know what I'm saying, I really don't be out there like that on social media, but that's obviously gonna change. I am at the no highlight era spelled how it sounds, on TikTok. I don't have an Instagram. I had an Instagram, like 11,000 followers. That's a whole nother story.
Why you don't want to get Instagram?
I'm gonna have to get back on there now.
You got to.
For personal reasons, I have to get off.
I got
Instagram.
you.
But
Okay.
I will get back on Instagram at some point. But right now, we're at the no highlight era. Clif is Clif, the THA, Supa, SUPA, producer, on all platforms.
Okay.
So definitely follow him if you want to see content. You follow my page, you ain't really gonna see a whole lot.
All right, man. Well, G, I appreciate your time.
Hey, the feeling is mutual. This is a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course.
The Progress Report.